Harry Potter, written by J.K. Rowling, was one of my favorite series growing up. First I watched the movies and then later read the books. The story is about Harry, a boy who lost his parents in a dreadful way and then has to live with his Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon, non-wizarding folk. Harry, however, is unfamiliar with the fact that he himself is a wizard until Hagrid, a beloved half-giant wizard, tells him on his 11th birthday. Nevertheless, each book has its own unique qualities that I enjoyed, and today I'll be ranking the books from my personal favorite to least favorite. Firstly, my number one pick for the Harry Potter series is the Sorcerer's Stone. My reasoning for this is because it was the first book in the whole series. Really, I believe that the Sorcerer's Stone can take some credit for the reason why the series became so popular in the beginning. In fact, in order for this book to have succeeded, it needed to have us grow an attachment for the characters and keep us interested throughout the entire book, which it did fantastically. The Sorcerer's Stone begins with Harry's life living with Aunt Petunia, Uncle Vernon, and Dudley, his nephew. Unfortunately though, Harry is scorned upon and lives underneath the staircase where he has to pretend like he doesn't exist in the household. It all changes though when Hagrid, one of my favorite characters, visits Harry on his 11th birthday, informing him that he's a wizard and all the mail he's been receiving have been letters of invitation from Hogwarts, School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Additionally, when he arrives at Hogwarts, we are introduced to the beloved characters Hermione Granger and Ron Weasley, and the not-so-lovely Draco Malfoy, one of the beginning antagonists. It's not all roses and butterflies though, because the book ends with the introduction of the main villain and killer of Harry's parents, Voldemort. Ultimately though, a very great beginning to an amazing series due to the establishment of characters and an emotional investment. The only thing I could critique the Sorcerer's Stone on is the length of the book, which is small compared to other books in the series that have more than 700 pages, while the Sorcerer's Stone has a little over 300. Besides that, my favorite part of the series is when Harry first uses his powers at the zoo, where he makes the glass encasing a snake disappear and Dudley falls into the enclosure, a very comedic and shocking scene. My second favorite from the series is the Goblet of Fire, when Harry must face 3 life-threatening challenges with other contestants from other wizarding schools. Really, it introduces you to so many new characters and provides development for other previous mentioned characters like Ron Weasley. I personally find this book amazing because there's a great mixture of both action, drama, comedy, and mystery. Action-wise, there's fights with dragons, merpeople, and an unwelcome surprise from Voldemort. Additionally, there's plenty of drama, especially with Ron Weasley's growing jealousy towards Harry and Hermione and Victor Crumb's companionship. Though my favorite scene, which provided plenty of comedy, is when Mad-Eye's imposter transformed Draco Malfoy into a ferret and was throwing him around with his wand. The scene begins as Professor McGonagall was coming down the marble staircase with her arms full of books. "Hello, Professor McGonagall," said Moody calmly, bouncing the ferret still higher. What are you doing?" said Professor McGonagall, her eyes following the bouncing ferret's progress through the air. "Teaching," said Moody. "Teach? Moody, is that a student?" shrieked Professor McGonagall, the book spilling out of her arms. "No," cried Professor McGonagall, running down the stairs and pulling out her wand. A moment later, with a loud snapping noise, Draco Malfoy had reappeared lying in a heap on the floor with his sleek blonde hair all over his now brilliantly pink face. He got to his feet, wincing. Overall, a scene I was laughing at for quite some time. I just wish it was actually Mad-Eye that did it and not the imposter. Following that, the only thing I found disappointing about the Goblet of Fire is that the bond with Mad-Eye Moody was completely fake, so we didn't get to actually know the real character as much as I would have liked to. Thirdly, my third favorite book is The Prisoner of Azkaban, the book that we are finally introduced to Harry's godfather, Sirius Black. I love this book for many reasons, especially because it was pulling on my heartstrings the entire way through. For one thing, I was so invested in Buckbeak and was so relieved when they found a way to reverse time to go back and save him from his wrongful execution. Really, this book was such a roller coaster because everything could have ended so badly if they didn't use Hermione's Time Turner necklace. In fact, if they hadn't, Buckbeak would have stayed executed and Sirius would have had the Dementor's kiss performed on him. My favorite scene would probably be a tie between Hermione punching Draco in the face, or when Harry, Ron, and Hermione simultaneously attacked Snape in the Shrieking Shack with a disarming spell that ended up knocking him out. Both scenes show that the characters such as Hermione were willing to break rules to do what was right. It also was interesting to note that Snape never got them in trouble for attacking him. The only critique I'd have for this book, though, is the length and lack of consequences, especially for tampering with time. My fourth favorite was The Deathly Hallows, the last book of the series, where Harry, Ron, and Hermione are on the run from Death Eaters in the Ministry of Magic while hunting down the remaining Horcruxes. Basically, this one I particularly enjoyed because of all the intense action and adventure. It's also pretty emotionally devastating at the end when Lupin, Tonks, and Fred lose their lives during the Battle of Hogwarts. On the other hand, I really wasn't expecting J.K. Rowling to kill off such loved characters, so props to her for keeping it surprising throughout the novels, but I'm still bitter about their deaths. Though it was very interesting how much of a dark turn Deathly Hallows took, which is why it's one of my top favorites. My one critique of this book was that I felt like the beginning was dragging a bit. I definitely noticed I was more interested during the middle and end portion of the book opposed to keeping the same level of interest all throughout the pages. My fifth favorite was The Order of the Phoenix, a very solid book that had a bunch of character scenes that I enjoyed, especially with the professors of Hogwarts. As a matter of fact, that's the one thing I really enjoyed about this edition of the series because I believe we get to know some of the professors a lot better. For instance, all the professors dislike the new headmaster, Umbridge, so they try to make her job unpleasant when they can. One example is when they act like they can't help her when Fred and George unleash their last prank, which was really funny. Even Snape dislikes her, so that has to say something about her character. Nevertheless, the one thing I didn't like so much about this book is that the plot is more centered on political conflict. But if you're more interested in conflict like that, this book is probably going to be one of your top favorites. Sixthly, my sixth favorite book was The Chamber of Secrets. Although this book is good, it just didn't ensnare me that much. I definitely think that the villain being Voldemort from the past is a unique idea, it just didn't cause me to feel any tension. Personally, I never really felt attached to Ginny Weasley's character, which plays a big role in this book, and no one in this book actually died from the basilisk, so I wasn't really worried about it. However, it has an interesting plot, and it was still a really good read. One of my favorite things about this book is that they tell us more about Dumbledore's phoenix named Fawkes. I found it very touching when Fawkes protected Harry from the basilisk because Harry displayed a fierce loyalty towards Dumbledore. Fawkes went so far as to blind the basilisk, bring Harry the Sorting Hat, and then cure Harry from the venom that had pierced his arm. By using his phoenix tears, Fawkes actually saved Harry's life. Indeed, Dumbledore had thanked Harry, stating, "First of all, Harry, I want to thank you," said Dumbledore, eyes twinkling again. "You must have shown me real loyalty down in the chamber. Nothing but that could have called Fawkes to you." Overall, a very good book with a theme of loyalty that I can appreciate. Finally, my least favorite from the series was The Half-Blood Prince. Although interesting and still a very good book, it catched my attention the least. The beginning also dragged a bit for me, and sometimes the characters irritated me, like Dumbledore and Harry, but it wasn't for long. It definitely picked back up in the middle and the end of the book, and we got to learn more about Snape's character as well. Certainly, I wouldn't have expected the twist at the end of the book, nor the fact that Snape was the Half-Blood Prince. It definitely was one of the darker editions of the series, and was still very good, just not my favorite. In conclusion, the story of Harry Potter and all the books have been amazing to read, and I would recommend everyone to read these books. Coming from someone who saw the movies first, I can guarantee you that you will be learning more about the characters and become more in love with the story if you read the books. They were all quite a joy to read, and I'd rank them from favorite to least favorite: The Sorcerer's Stone, The Goblet of Fire, The Prisoner of Azkaban, The Deathly Hallows, Order of the Phoenix, Chamber of Secrets, and then lastly, The Half-Blood Prince. Keep in mind though, it is my personal opinion and you're entitled to view it otherwise. It was honestly hard to rate these books because I enjoyed them all so much. Hey, thanks for listening to today's video, and please let me know what you think in the comments below. How would you rate the books, and did you enjoy the books or the movies more? Please let me know because I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts and opinions as well. But once again, thanks for listening, and remember, Dobby has no master, Dobby is a free elf, and Dobby has come to save Harry Potter and his friends.